HCF of algebraic expression. Take note. Check previous lesson on HCF or GCF before coming to this lesson. Now let's go straight to the quick exercise because we've talked about the basics and the procedures for solving HCF. And since we're talking about algebraic expression, we have to include variables. That is the only difference between the traditional or conventional HCF and that of algebraic expression. So since we have 6x squared and 12xy squared, we have to express these values as product of their prime factors. Then we can write them out, index, and solve for their HCF. So let's go ahead and solve the question that says find the HCF of 6x squared and 12xy squared. So solving for 6x squared first, we have 6x squared. We are going to be dividing with the least number that is above 1. And here 2 can go, right? So 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. Remember your x squared, you bring it down. At this point 2 cannot go again, so we use 3. 3 divided by 3 is just 1, right? So since it's 1, only x squared remains. What can divide this variable? X. So x squared divided by x gives us x. Assuming we'll have something, let's do it here. Assuming we'll have x squared, it simply means x multiplied by x. And if you have x multiplied by x and you divide it by x, that is simply dividing it by x. 1x will cancel 1x, and you're going to be left with just what? 1x. That's why we just have 1x. And now x divided by x is what? 1. So when you have x over x, whenever a number divides itself, 1 here, it is always what? 1. 6x squared. Let's express this as a product of its prime factor. So doing that, we have 6x squared becomes 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by x multiplied by x. Okay, let's solve for 12xy squared. Dividing with the least value, and here we'll have to use 2. Least value above 1, 2 can go, right? 12 divided by 2 gives us 6. So we'll have to bring down xy squared. Remember, we are going to always work with these algebraic variables. 6 divided by 2, yes, it works, gives us 3xy squared. At this point, we now use 3. 3 here goes, and then it's left with yx squared. S can go, right? Then we're going to be left with y squared. Let's do that here. So we'll have x, y multiplied by y, because this is y squared all over x. The x will cancel out, and then y squared remains. So y here remains what? Y. And then finally y here is just 1. Okay, so let's do that here. Let's put down these values. For 12xy squared, you're having 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by x multiplied by y multiplied by y. Up next, we'll have to index. So let me write it here. Indexing 6x squared becomes 2 raised to the power 1 multiplied by 3 raised to the power 1 multiplied by x raised to the power 2. And then for 12xy squared becomes 2 raised to the power 2 multiplied by 3 raised to the power 1 multiplied by x raised to the power 1 multiplied by y raised to the power 2. So this is exactly the same with what we have here, just that we've indexed. And this is exactly the same with what we have here, just that we have what we have indexed. So the HCF slash GCF becomes the least common index. What are the common index here? 2 is common here, 3 is common here, and then x is common. So we have 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by x. The least for 2 is 1 index. The least index for 3 is 1, and the least index for x is 1. So this means 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by x. 2 times 3 is what? 6 times x is what? 6x. And that is our HCF. So you have to be able to take note of these things, go through them one after the other. And to make things very, very easy for yourself, ensure you check the previous lesson on HCF before coming to this one. Let's go ahead and solve the next question. Find the GCF of 6a, 8a cubed, and 15a squared. So let's start from 6a. 6a was the least value that can divide this. 2 can, right? 6 divided by 2 gives us 3, just bring down your a. 3 divided by 3 is what? 1, just bring down your a. And a divided by a is 1. Okay, let's go for the next value, which is 8a cubed. 2 can go here. A divided by 2 gives us 4a cubed. 2 divided by 4, that is 4 divided by 2 gives us 2a cubed. And 2 divided by 2 is 1, so a cubed. A can divide a cubed to give us a squared. A divided by a squared gives us just a. And a divided by a is 1. So let's solve for the last one. 15a squared. 2 cannot go. In as much as we want to use the least value that can divide without a remainder above 1, we have to be sure that that number can divide whatever we want to divide without a remainder. So 2 cannot divide 15 without a remainder. So we have to use the next value, which is 3. 15 divided by 3 gives us 5. Then remember a squared. 3 cannot divide 5. Yes. So 5 divided by 5, that's the next value we're going to use. Go to the next value above that one that cannot divide. And that is 1. Then a squared. At this point, nothing can divide except a. A divided by a squared gives us a. And a divided by a is what? 1. So let's write this out. 6a becomes, we'll take the values here. 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by a. And then 8a cubed becomes 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by a multiplied by a multiplied by a. Then 15a squared becomes 3 multiplied by 5 multiplied by a multiplied by a. At this point, we'll have to index. This becomes 2 raised to the power 1 multiplied by 3 raised to the power 1 multiplied by 8 raised to the power 1. Then here, indexing becomes 2 raised to the power 3 multiplied by e raised to the power 3. Here, indexing, we have 3 raised to the power 1 multiplied by 5 raised to the power 1 multiplied by e raised to the power what? 2. At this very point, we have to use the least index of the common number. So let's check. 2 is here and 2 is here, but 2 is not here, so 2 is not common. 3 is here, 3 is not here, but 3 is here. 3 is not as well common. But be mindful to see that we have a here, we have a, and we have a. Therefore, what is common is a. So at this point, HCF slash GCF, whether GCF or SF is the same thing, becomes what? A. And we use the least common index raised to the power 1. And that's what? Just a. A very tricky question, and it's still simple. So you have to pay attention to this kind of detail and ensure you're solving correctly. So first thing, express the numbers as products of the prime factors. Up next, you index. When you index, look out for the common factor and then use the least common index. And that is it. Okay, the last question. Find the HCF of 15ab squared and 30a squared b. So let's start from 15ab squared. What's the least value that can divide? 3. 15 divided by 3 gives us 5ab squared. And then 5 can divide. 5 divided by 5 is what? 1. So ab squared remains. Now using a to divide, b squared remains. Using b to divide, so you are going to have b remaining. And then b divided by b is 1. We are done. Then for 30a squared b, we start from 2, right? 30 divided by 2 gives us 15a squared b. 2 cannot divide anymore. We use 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5a squared b. Then 5 here becomes a squared b. Using a here, we have ab. Using a again, we have b. And then using b finally, we have 1. So let's write them out. 15ab squared is equal to 3 multiplied by 5 multiplied by a multiplied by b multiplied by b. And then 30a squared b, writing it out, becomes 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 5 multiplied by a multiplied by a multiplied by b. At this point, let's index. So 3 raised to the power 1 multiplied by 5 raised to the power 1 multiplied by 8 raised to the power 1 multiplied by b raised to the power 2 is equal to 2 raised to the power 1 multiplied by 3 raised to the power 1 multiplied by 5 raised to the power 1 multiplied by 8 raised to the power 2 multiplied by b raised to the power 1. So let's check for the common values here, or the common index. 3 is here and 3 is here, that's common. 5 is here, 5 is here, that's common. 2 is not common. A is here and A is here, that's common. B is here and B is here, that's common. So the HCF slash GCF becomes, let's write out all the common index. So 3 multiplied by 5 multiplied by a multiplied by b. Now taking their least index, so the least index for the both of them is 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. This becomes 3 multiplied by 5 multiplied by a multiplied by b. 3 times 5 is what? 15a, and then a times b becomes ab. So 3 times 5 is 15, 15 times a is 15a times b, 15ab. And that is it. So having said that, we've come to the end of this very lesson. But for you to understand this lesson, ensure you must have gone through the lesson on HCF. So when you go through the traditional HCF, you come to algebraic HCF. Having said that, thank you so much for being here today. Do well to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.